Hey, Steve Simard here, Trusted Connecticut Realtor. So, private well versus public water. What Connecticut home buyers should know. So if you're buying a home in Granby, Simsbury, East Granby, Suffield, Canton, Barkhamsted, or anywhere in Northern Connecticut, one detail that deserves more attention than it often gets is the home's water source. Is the property connected to a public water supply or does it have a private well? Both can be perfectly good options, but they come with different responsibilities, costs, and considerations. In many of the Connecticut communities I work in, private wells are extremely common, so buyers shouldn't automatically view having a well as a negative. Here's what a Connecticut home buyer should know. How common are private wells in Connecticut? Private wells are a significant part of Connecticut housing. According to the Connecticut Department of Public Health, approximately 342,000 private residential wells serve about 23% of Connecticut's population, more than 837,000 people. That means buying a house with a well isn't unusual at all, particularly in more suburban and rural communities. What's the main difference? Well, with public water, your home's water is supplied by a public water system. The system is responsible for treating and routinely testing the water, and the homeowner typically pays a water bill. Public water systems are subject to a regular testing requirement for bacteria, chemicals, and naturally occurring compounds and radioactivity. With a private well, the water comes from the groundwater on or serving your property. Instead of paying a water utility for your household water, the homeowner is generally responsible for the well, the pump, and associated equipment for water quality. Connecticut DPH emphasizes that private well owners are responsible for maintaining their wells and monitoring their water quality. Should you test well water before buying a home? Well, absolutely. A water quality test is one of the important due diligence items I recommend buyers consider when purchasing a Connecticut property with a private well. Connecticut DPH specifically recommends testing private well water when purchasing a home. It also points out an important distinction. Where a lender may require water testing in some transactions, testing existing well simply because the property is being sold is not generally mandated by Connecticut law. So don't assume that clear-looking, odor-free water means there isn't an issue. Many contaminants can't be detected simply by looking at or tasting the water. What should Connecticut buyers test for? Well, a basic water test can provide important information, but depending on the property and location, buyers may want more comprehensive testing. For new construction, from newly constructed private wells, state law requires testing that includes items such as coliform, nitrate and nitrate, sodium and chloride, iron and manganese, hardness, turbidity, pH, sulfate, arsenic, and uranium. Additional testing can make sense depending on the home's location, age, and condition. Connecticut DPH also recommends that private well owners test for arsenic, uranium, and radon at least once, and ideally repeat the test every 5 years or so. Why arsenic and uranium matter in Connecticut? This is particularly relevant to Connecticut buyers because some of these contaminants occur naturally in our geology here. A Connecticut DPH and U.S. Geological Survey study estimated that approximately 3.9% of private wells statewide could have arsenic concentrations above the EPA standard for public drinking water, and approximately 4.7% could have uranium concentrations above the Environmental Protection Agency standard. These percentages shouldn't scare buyers away from homes with wells. They demonstrate why proper testing is important. For example, arsenic cannot readily be identified by the taste, smell, or appearance of the water. Testing is the way to know whether it's present. What about the well itself? Water quality is only one part of evaluating a private well. Buyers should also consider the physical condition and performance of the well system. Depending on the property, I want my buyers to understand questions such as, how old is the well? Where is the well located? How old is the well pump? Has the well ever run dry or experienced low production? Is there water treatment equipment? When was the equipment last serviced? Are there previous water test results available? Does the home have adequate water pressure and flow? A water quality test tells you what's in the water. It doesn't necessarily tell you everything about the mechanical condition or production capacity of the well. What happens if the water test finds a problem? A number of things could happen. A failed or concerning water test doesn't automatically mean you should walk away from the house. The next step is determining what was detected, at what level, and why it's occurring, and whether it can reasonably be corrected or treated. In most cases, it can. Some water quality issues can be addressed with filtration or treatment systems. Others may require additional investigation. This is why I prefer buyers to get the appropriate professionals involved rather than guessing about the seriousness or cost of a water issue. Advantages of a private well? Well, private wells can have several advantages. There's generally no monthly water bill based on household consumption, and you aren't dependent on a municipal water system for normal service. For many Connecticut buyers looking for larger lots, privacy, and more rural settings, private wells are simply a normal part of home ownership. The trade-off is that the homeowner assumes responsibility for the well pump, testing, and any necessary treatment. Advantages of the public water supply? Well, public water offers a different kind of convenience. The water supplier handles water treatment and ongoing system level testing. Homeowners don't have to maintain their own well or replace a private well pump. For some buyers, that predictability is attractive. The trade-off is that you'll typically have a recurring water bill, and rate and services are controlled by the water provider. Is public water better for resale? Well, not necessarily. This is very location dependent. In a neighborhood where nearly every house has a private well, buyers generally expect private wells. In other areas where public utilities are standard, public water may be desirable. That's why I wouldn't automatically discount a Connecticut property simply because it has a private well. Condition, water quality, location, and proper maintenance matter far more than simply seeing the word well on the listing. Connecticut has special well water disclosure requirements. Connecticut law also requires certain information be provided in transactions involving properties with private or semi-private wells. Before the sale, transfer, or rental of such a property, buyers or tenants must be notified about Connecticut DPH educational materials concerning private wells. When a buyer has a real estate license assisting with the transaction, Connecticut law specifies the licensee provide the DPH educational material to the buyer. It's another reason why working with someone familiar with Connecticut properties and local conditions can be so valuable. Buying a home with a well in Granby or Northern Connecticut? Don't let a private well automatically discourage you from an otherwise great property. Investigate instead. Understand the system, conduct appropriate water testing, review available maintenance information, and get professional advice when something unusual appears. I've helped buyers and sellers throughout Granby, East Granby, Simsbury, Avon, Canton, Suffield, Windsor, Barkhamsted, and surrounding Connecticut communities, and understanding details like wells, septic systems, and other property-specific issues is an important part of making an informed real estate decision. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home in Northern or Central Connecticut and have questions about a property's well, septic system, or other features, I am here to help you navigate the process. I'm Stephen Simard, trusted Connecticut Realtor.